UFO and alien sightings are soaring like never before. Are we heading toward our first real contact with beings from beyond Earth? And if that moment comes, will it be a peaceful exchange or a deadly confrontation? While we can't say for sure, a declassified CIA report offers a chilling possibility. It details a terrifying encounter with hostile extraterrestrials that is really disturbing. 23 people were attacked by aliens in a single incident. And what's even more shocking is that all of them were highly trained Russian military personnel.
StarXtreme.
The story begins in March 1993, when the CIA quietly released hundreds of pages of declassified documents. Hidden among them was a translated article from a Ukrainian newspaper titled, "UFO Causes Fear in the Ranks of the Soviet Army." The report describes a bizarre event that allegedly took place in Siberia in 1989. A Soviet military unit during their routine patrol spotted an unidentified flying object, a silver disc hovering low over a training camp. The soldiers, following orders, fired a surface-to-air missile at the UFO. The missile hit its target, bringing the unknown craft to the ground. As the soldiers approached the crashed UFO to check for any survivors, 5 tiny humanoids, described as glowing, having large heads and eyes, stepped out of the wreckage. This left all the soldiers dumbstruck with fear, all 25 of them. And as they were still processing all this, the 5 aliens reportedly merged into a bright spherical orb. This was followed by a large humming sound, and then came an explosion with a blinding flash of intensely bright light. 2 soldiers hid behind the trees to protect themselves from this bright light. But little did they know that this very decision would end up saving their lives. When the light faded, the remaining 23 soldiers stood frozen, literally turned to stone. The same process, which takes millions of years through fossilization, was achieved in just a few seconds through the highly advanced alien weapon. It was like a weaponized energy field that instantly calcified organic material. The 2 soldiers who survived were left trembling, confused, and terrified. They immediately contacted their superiors and informed them of the eerie encounter. Soon after, a KGB special team was allegedly sent to the site. The stone statues were described as stone-like bodies, still in full uniform, caught mid-motion, eyes wide open. Not burned, not disintegrated, but petrified. It is said that the KGB swiftly seized the petrified bodies of all 23 soldiers, along with the wreckage of the mysterious spacecraft, transporting them under heavy secrecy to a hidden military base near Moscow. So how did this story end up in American hands? The document appeared in a CIA intelligence file under the title Chronology of Interesting UFO Events. It was translated from a 1993 issue of Ternopil Vekerny, a small Ukrainian publication. The CIA made no official comment on the contents, but they didn't reject it either. They simply archived it. The presence of this bizarre tale in government records sparked waves of speculation. Why was the CIA keeping tabs on a UFO attack in Siberia? And why was it buried for decades? Many call the story absurd, a mix of science fiction and Cold War hysteria. But could this have been the first real alien retaliation? A demonstration of extraterrestrial power to threaten us? To this day, there's no proof of what actually happened, but the fact that this story sits quietly in a CIA document raises unsettling questions. And this was also not the first time that the Russian military came face to face with aliens. There have been 2 such hostile alien encounters in the past. Russian military has encountered UFOs on multiple occasions, as recently as the Russia-Ukraine war in March 2024, where a black, disc-like stationary object was observed by Ukrainian soldiers. Similarly, there have been close to 45 instances when the Russian military sent fighter jets to try and chase UAPs and shoot them down in some cases. Just like alien spacecraft seen in the sky are called UAPs, that is, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Alien vessels seen underwater are called USOs, which means unidentified submerged objects. And back in July 2009, the Russian government declassified top-secret documents which talked about close encounters of USOs with the Russian Navy. This disclosure sent shockwaves around the world. Number 1. Russian divers come face-to-face with underwater aliens. This is by far the most terrifying encounter revealed in Russia's declassified reports. Coming face-to-face with an extraterrestrial on land is enough for anyone to freeze to death. Now imagine coming face-to-face with not one, but 6 aliens when diving underwater at great depths. There is literally no escape. That's exactly what happened in Siberia in 1982. Lake Baikal is infamous for unusual alien and UFO activity in Russia. With a depth of 1,642 meters, Lake Baikal is the deepest freshwater lake in the world. It contains 20% of the world's unfrozen freshwater. On that fateful day, Russian Navy divers were conducting a research mission as very little is known about this UFO hotspot. A total of 7 divers embarked on this scary mission, totally oblivious of the fact that this dive would change their lives forever. They all went up to a depth of about 50 meters, which is not too far in deep sea diving terms. But suddenly, a few minutes into the water, the divers had an unnerving feeling that they were being watched. When they turned behind to see what it was, they got the shock of their lives. They encountered strange humanoid creatures who were much larger than normal human beings. They were wearing some sort of futuristic helmets. The 7 divers were dumbstruck and feared for their lives. These creatures were almost 9 to 10 feet tall, pretty much resembling the 10-foot aliens seen on top of a mountain in Brazil earlier this year. In addition to the sci-fi helmets, they were also wearing very tight-fitting silvery suits. None of the equipment the aliens wore resembled anything that a normal scuba diver would wear. They didn't even carry any oxygen tanks. Does this mean that these creatures have always been living underwater and are hence used to underwater breathing conditions? And while all this tension was building up, the Russian divers made the horrid decision of trying to capture the underwater aliens to show to their superiors. In a split second, the divers attempted to get a hold of one of the weaker-looking aliens. But at that exact moment, as a defense mechanism, the alien exerted some sort of powerful thrust that pushed all the 7 divers to the surface within a few seconds. Such a rapid rise is very fatal for any human as it leads to decompression and in some cases even death. Out of the 7 divers that were thrown back to the surface of the water, 3 died on the spot, and the remaining 4 were very severely injured due to decompression. Had the divers not taken such an aggressive approach, they would still live to tell the tale. This is one of the few encounters where aliens have acted with hostility in their defense against humans. But the second underwater encounter that the Russian Navy had with such aliens almost made them feel like they were about to go to war with them. Number 2. Russian Navy encounters underwater USOs. Most of these USO encounters happened during the Soviet era, that is before 1991. One such disclosure pertains to an undated encounter of the Russian Navy with a group of hostile USOs. Crew aboard a fully weaponized Russian submarine encountered these so-called USOs at a depth of approximately 260 meters. The crew suddenly detected 6 unknown objects on their sonar, all moving in synchronized fashion on a collision course towards the military sub. The military personnel were dumbstruck after it was detected that the USOs were traveling at an astounding speed of 265 miles per hour. Even the fastest man-made submarine, the Soviet-era K-222, could only reach a top speed of 51.4 mph. Thus, these alien USOs were traveling at speeds 7 times faster than any technology known to man. This was highly unnerving for these seasoned and well-trained military personnel who had never experienced anything like this before. The 6 disc-shaped objects moving in formation continued to move at rapid speeds towards the sub. But something very shocking happened. when the Russian military personnel thought that all hope was lost. When the Russian sub got alarmed by the incoming USOs and stopped moving, the 6 hostile USOs also froze in their tracks, so as to say that the USOs were only toying around with the Russian sub. But sensing imminent danger, the Russian submarine operatives manned their battle stations. The captain of the sub feared that there was going to be a definite collision and that he and his crew were under attack by the aliens. In this dire situation, rather than using underwater missiles, the captain ordered for an emergency surfacing of the sub. The submarine finally breached the surface, narrowly avoiding a collision with the USOs. When the sub operatives checked through the periscope, these 6 objects beamed out of the water and shot up into the sky at absurdly high speeds. Now, was this encounter a hostile show of dominance, or were these USOs merely fleeing the spot to avoid detection? We will never know. But encountering ships that travel at high speeds underwater, that effortlessly continue the same momentum in air, just goes to show that these extraterrestrials possess a technology far superior than ours. And if they have such advanced technology, what is stopping them from waging a full-on war with all the countries on Earth? And if such an unforeseen circumstance does occur, are we capable enough to work as a solid team and defend our home with all our military might combined? Alien invasion has long been the fascination of science fiction directors, with movies like Independence Day and Mars Attack being fan favorites. In both these movies, the plot is pretty simple. Aliens come to Earth and that results in a full-on invasion. And our military weapons don't stand a chance against their super advanced technology. But by some Hollywood miracle, we find a weakness or a chink in their armor, and that helps us win the war against these aliens. But will that actually be the case when a real alien attack happens? Are militaries around the world ready to work together as a joint force in case of such an imminent threat? In the event that an alien attack happens tomorrow, the world's superpowers will have to join all their military might to defend our planet against these space invaders. But assuming that the alien species attacking us is really advanced, do our earthly weapons even stand a chance against their superior weaponry? In Hollywood movies, aliens have been shown to have powerful lasers that vaporize their targets. If that is indeed the case, then do our earthly military forces have adequate armor to protect them from such futuristic lasers? It's also sometimes shown in such movies that the alien spaceship has some sort of force field that protects them from outer attacks and missiles. Do we have the advanced weaponry to penetrate such force fields? Also, talking about lasers, the US Navy also has its own laser called the ANSEQ-3 laser weapon system. It can shoot down a small UAV in as little as 2 seconds. This laser in its most powerful form might be the only weapon that might be formidable to the aliens. Because as seen in most UFO videos, the alien aircrafts are able to move quickly from one point to another, thus making it difficult to merely impossible for our ballistic missiles to strike them. Even our current heat-seeking missiles might find it difficult to target these spaceships. As a dying measure, we might have to eventually turn towards our stockpile of nuclear weapons, hoping that we never have to resort to the use of this life-destroying weapon. But if ever it comes to that, our best option will be to use the Tsar Bomba, which is the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created and tested by the Soviet Union in the year 1961. It yielded an explosion equivalent to 57 megatons of TNT. On this basis of comparison, the Hiroshima bomb was about 15 kilotons while the Nagasaki one was 25 kilotons, mere babies compared to this nuclear juggernaut. And even if we use the Tsar Bomba, it would have to be a mid-air attack, as anything on ground would result in a huge number of casualties. But if the alien spaceship is able to shoot down the Tsar Bomba, even before it hits them, then we are completely out of options. So let's hope that whenever an advanced alien species does make contact with us on Earth, they come with a message of peace and friendship and not war and destruction. But what do you think will happen if aliens do ever plan to attack Earth for its resources?